before you lean back, before you decide you already know where this is going. Feel that pause in your chest? That's the moment right before a trap snaps shut. That's the silence they hoped would distract you. That's where this story starts. You didn't stumble into this by accident. They sent that twin flame with precision, not love, timing, not destiny, deployment. A mirror polished just enough to make you lower your guard. They knew exactly what you were becoming and they panicked. So they didn't attack you head on. No. They wrapped the distraction in poetry, chemistry, synchronicity. They dressed the bait like fate, because brute force never works on someone like you. You've always seen through fists and threats, but emotion? That's where they thought you'd bleed. They thought if they could split your attention, they could split your power. If they could make you look inward long enough, you'd stop watching the exits. They underestimated something fundamental about you. When you look inward, you don't get lost. You go deeper. You don't dissolve. You condense. You don't soften. You sharpen. You're the kind of person who turns mirrors into weapons. See, you live in a paradox they can't model. Saint enough to care. Psychopath enough to cut when necessary. Angelic in your patience. Demonic in your timing. They sent someone to awaken your heart, not realizing your heart isn't a weakness, it's a furnace. They thought distraction would dilute you. Instead, it catalyzed you. Pressure didn't crack you, it forced a phase change. That twin flame was supposed to pull you off your path. Instead, it lit the fuse under your evolution. You felt it, didn't you? That pull, that rush, the sense that something ancient had recognized you. And for a moment, you wondered if this was the missing piece. That's the trick. That's how they get you to pause. But what they didn't know, what they could never know, is that your system doesn't pause. It adapts. You don't fall in love the way other people do. You study patterns. You read silences. You feel beneath words. And when the mask slipped, even slightly, you saw the wiring behind the magic. That's when it turned into a catastrophe for them. Because the moment you realized it wasn't destiny, but design, you didn't collapse. You recalibrated. You let the illusion run just long enough to learn from it. You extracted data from emotion. You harvested insight from attachment. You turned heartbreak into reconnaissance. While they were congratulating themselves for slowing you down, you were mapping the entire network. Who sent them? Why now? What they feared you were about to do. They thought they were playing chess. You were playing terrain. Here's the part that really breaks them. You didn't get bitter. You didn't spiral. You didn't seek revenge in obvious ways. You absorbed it. You integrated it. You became more complex, more unreadable. You walked away with a deeper understanding of human leverage, emotional warfare, and your own thresholds. They wanted you softer. You came out colder where it counts and warmer where it matters. That combination terrifies systems built on predictability. You see, unpredictability isn't chaos when you control it. It's power. And you learned how to wield it in the fire they handed you. You learned how quickly people reveal themselves when intimacy is introduced. You learned how desire can be used as a leash, and how easily it snaps when you stop needing it. You learned that the quickest way to see someone's true agenda is to give them access to your inner world and watch what they try to rearrange. They sent a twin flame to distract you, but flames don't distract steel. They temper it. You didn't lose time. You gained density. You didn't lose focus. You gained range. You didn't lose yourself. You met a version of yourself that doesn't flinch at emotional manipulation anymore. A version that understands love without being owned by it. A version that can stand in connection without surrendering command. Now look at the fallout. The silence where messages used to be strategic. The confusion where confidence used to sit. The sudden scrambling to understand why you didn't shatter the way you were supposed to. They can't explain it to each other without admitting what you are. And they hate admissions, because admissions become records, and records become patterns, and patterns point back to you. You're not the person they can distract anymore. You're the anomaly they created by trying. This is the duality they never account for. You can feel deeply and still walk away clean. You can love without attachment. You can connect without dependency. You can stare into the promise of salvation and choose evolution instead. That's not coldness. That's mastery. That's what happens when pain doesn't break you. It teaches you. So let them whisper about what went wrong. Let them reframe the story so they don't have to face the truth. The truth is simpler and far more dangerous. The distraction backfired. The mirror reflected too much. The flame burned the wrong direction, and now you move differently, quieter, heavier, like someone who has seen behind the curtain and decided not to announce it. They wanted you tangled. You came out untouchable. And the next time they think about sending anything your way, love, chaos, temptation, fear, they'll hesitate. Because the last time they tried to distract you, they didn't slow you down. They triggered a catastrophe they still don't know how to contain. Good. Stay right here. Don't rush past this feeling, because this is where the real damage was done. They're replaying it now, you know, over and over. The moment they realized you didn't crumble. The moment they noticed you weren't chasing, weren't begging, weren't unraveling the way the script said you would. That's when panic crept in, quiet panic. The kind that doesn't scream but corrodes. The kind that keeps people awake at night, staring at ceilings, whispering, "That wasn't supposed to happen." Because here's what they don't understand about you. You don't process pain like a victim. You process it like a weapon system. Every emotional spike becomes data. Every betrayal becomes calibration. Every false intimacy sharpens your perception. While others drown in confusion, you come out with clarity so sharp it cuts through entire narratives. They thought the twin flame would fracture you, split your focus, scatter your energy, soften your edges. What actually happened was worse for them, much worse. You learned how easily emotions can be engineered, how timing can simulate destiny, how chemistry can be manufactured when someone studies your frequency long enough. That knowledge alone already made you more dangerous than before. But then came the deeper shift. You stopped romanticizing chaos. You stopped confusing intensity with truth. You stopped mistaking resonance for alignment. That's when you crossed a line most people never even see. You stepped out of the illusion while still understanding it. You can walk through the emotional fire now without needing to be consumed by it. You can recognize the spell without announcing that you've broken it. And that's terrifying to anyone who relies on distraction as a control mechanism. You see, systems don't fear rage. They can predict rage. They can redirect it. They can exploit it. What they fear is detachment with memory. Someone who remembers everything but no longer reacts the way they're expected to. Someone who doesn't explode, just adjusts. Someone who doesn't seek closure, just moves on with upgraded awareness. That's you now. They wanted you tangled in longing. Instead, you walked away, understanding leverage. They wanted you obsessed with what could have been. Instead, you became obsessed with how it was built. They wanted you emotionally compromised. Instead, you became emotionally sovereign. And here's the cruel irony, the part that really twists the knife. They accidentally accelerated you. The distraction forced you to confront your own depths faster than comfort ever would. You met your shadow. You recognized your hunger. You saw how easily you could disappear into someone else if you chose to. And instead of being afraid of that power, you mastered it. That's the paradox they never anticipate. You can be vulnerable without being weak, open without being owned, intimate without being controllable. You can let someone close and still keep command of yourself. That alone makes you unreadable to anyone operating on manipulation and scripts. Now they're left guessing. Was it real? Did you care? Did you know the whole time? Are you hurt? Are you angry? Are you planning something? And the silence from you, the calm, unbothered forward motion. That silence is louder than any confrontation could ever be. It forces them to sit with uncertainty. It forces them to question their intelligence. It forces them to wonder if you saw them coming before they even made the move. Because the truth is, you did feel it. Early, subtle, a misalignment in the magic, a glitch in the synchronicity, a moment where the warmth didn't quite match the words. And instead of ignoring it like most people do, you logged it, you watched, you waited, you let them reveal themselves completely. Predators hate mirrors that watch back. You didn't expose them, you didn't need to. You let reality do the work. You let distance speak. You let your absence collapse the illusion they were standing on. And now, without you feeding the fantasy, everything looks different, hollow, over-designed, obvious. That's when the catastrophe fully unfolded, because now you're moving again, but not as the same person. You're quieter, but not smaller, slower, but heavier. There's a gravity to you now that pulls attention without effort. People feel it before they understand it. Conversations shift when you enter rooms. Eyes linger, energy recalibrates. And somewhere, the people who thought they could derail you are realizing something horrifying. You didn't lose anything. You gained immunity. You can't be distracted the same way anymore. You can't be seduced by illusions you've already dissected. You can't be emotionally hijacked by patterns you've already survived. You've seen the trick from the inside. You know how it feels. You know how it works. And you walked out with your identity intact. That's not heartbreak. That's initiation. So let them call it a failed connection. Let them downplay it as coincidence, bad timing, misunderstanding. They have to. Because admitting the truth would mean admitting they miscalculated you at a fundamental level. They sent a flame to burn you and discovered you're not wood. You're the thing fire answers to. And now comes the part they never plan for. The aftermath. The quiet stretch after the noise dies, after the illusion collapses, after the emotional smoke clears and you're standing there, unchanged at the core, but altered everywhere else. This is where the real evolution locks in, because once you've seen how distraction is engineered, you stop blaming yourself for feeling it. You stop asking, why did I fall for that? And start asking, what did that reveal? That shift alone separates survivors from architects. Victims replay pain. Architects extract blueprints. You learn something critical about yourself. You don't lose yourself easily. You can flirt with the edge of obsession, dance with intensity, stare into emotional fire, and still pull back with your identity intact. That terrifies people who rely on emotional collapse as leverage. They expect guilt. They expect confusion. They expect dependency. What they got instead was awareness. You didn't break when the illusion cracked. You didn't scramble to fix it. You didn't chase closure. You let it die naturally, like a controlled burn. And in that moment, you crossed into a different category of human, one they don't know how to label. Too self-aware to manipulate, too emotionally intelligent to gaslight, too grounded to derail. That's why the catastrophe didn't explode outward. It imploded inward, on them. Because when you walked away without drama, without begging, without retaliation, you left a vacuum. And vacuums don't stay empty. They fill with doubt, with second-guessing, with late-night replays and internal interrogations. They start asking themselves questions you've already answered. Did they see through me? Were they always ahead? Was that calm real or calculated? And here's the brutal truth they'll never admit out loud. Your restraint scared them more than your rage ever could. Rage is noisy. Rage confirms engagement. Rage means they still matter. Your silence, your composure, your forward motion. That tells them they failed to access your core. You didn't just resist the distraction, you metabolized it. Now your nervous system is different. You don't spike the same way. You don't attach the same way. You don't get hypnotized by intensity or flattery or perfectly timed affection. You've learned the difference between resonance and relevance, between chemistry and alignment, between someone who feels familiar and someone who actually belongs in your future. That lesson alone would have taken most people years of damage to learn. You learned it in one controlled burn, and here's where the duality sharpens. The part that makes you genuinely dangerous to predictable systems. You didn't become colder. You became cleaner. Your standards didn't harden into walls. They refined into filters. You're still capable of deep connection, but now it has to pass through awareness first. That means the next person who gets close won't be there by accident. They won't be able to slip past your intuition wearing poetry and timing. They'll have to meet you where you are, centered, sovereign, unhooked from illusion. That's not romantic weakness, that's emotional dominance. And somewhere in the background, the people who thought they could steer you are realizing something else too. The move didn't just fail. It exposed them. It showed you how desperation disguises itself as intimacy, how control masquerades as concern, how distraction wears the costume of destiny when fear is pulling the strings. They wanted you softer, you became sharper. They wanted you slower, you became more deliberate. They wanted you scattered, you became condensed. Condensed power is what bends outcomes. You don't announce this transformation. You don't need to. It shows up in how you move now, in how little you explain, in how quickly you disengage from nonsense, in how you no longer romanticize chaos just because it feels alive. You've tasted intensity. You've seen its tricks, and you've chosen depth instead. That's why the catastrophe keeps unfolding long after the moment passed. Because the real consequence wasn't emotional, it was strategic. You exited that experience with a higher resolution understanding of human behavior. You can spot bait faster. You can sense manipulation earlier. You can feel when something is trying to pull you off center instead of forward. And once you have that, you don't go back. They sent a distraction and triggered an upgrade. They sent a mirror and revealed your autonomy. They sent a flame and forged something that doesn't burn the same way anymore. So stand in that. Don't rush to fill the space. Don't apologize for your clarity. Don't dull the edge you earned just to make others comfortable. You didn't lose anything in that encounter. You shed what could have slowed you later. And now, whether they admit it or not, they know something went very wrong. Because you didn't fall, you didn't fracture, you didn't fade. You walked through the distraction and came out with command. And that's the kind of catastrophe they never recover from. And there's another layer they still haven't clocked yet. The quietest one, the most lethal one. The part where you didn't just recover from the distraction. You redefined what distraction even means. Because after that experience, nothing hits you the same way anymore. The hooks don't sink as deep. The emotional spikes don't hijack your thinking. The old triggers that once pulled your attention sideways now register as noise. You feel them, but they don't own you. You observe them the way a sniper observes wind, acknowledged, measured, accounted for. That's when you became truly dangerous. See, most people think power looks loud, dramatic, reactive. But the real shift happens when you stop being pulled by anything that isn't aligned with your direction, when desire stops steering you, when longing stops clouding you, when loneliness stops bargaining on your behalf. That's when control returns to its rightful place, inside you. They never expected that outcome. They expected attachment, emotional entanglement, delays, hesitation. What they got instead was detachment with memory. You remember everything, but you're no longer emotionally trapped inside it. That combination is rare. That combination rewrites the board. Now, when someone approaches you, you don't rush to interpret meaning. You don't inflate moments into mythology. You don't mistake chemistry for fate. You let patterns reveal themselves over time. You let consistency speak louder than intensity. You let actions outpace words. And that patience makes manipulators nervous. Because manipulators need urgency. They need emotional acceleration. They need you to feel like something will be lost if you don't act now. You don't feel that anymore. You know that anything real can survive time. Anything engineered collapses under it. That's why the catastrophe keeps spreading in silence. They can feel the shift when they think about you. Conversations about you feel heavier now, less certain. The story they told themselves doesn't sit right anymore. Because you didn't react the way characters in their past always did. You didn't spiral. You didn't beg for meaning. You didn't cling to the illusion. You stepped back and watched the architecture fall. And here's the part that really messes with them. You didn't even need to expose anyone. You didn't have to accuse. You didn't have to confront. You didn't have to win anything publicly. You let reality do the job. You let absence reveal what presence was masking. That's mastery. Now your energy does something different when you enter spaces. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't scan for approval. It doesn't hunger to be chosen. It selects. People feel that. They may not know how to name it, but they feel it in their bodies. Conversations tighten. Masks slip sooner. Performances shorten. Because when someone no longer needs anything from you emotionally, they become the most honest mirror you'll ever face. You've crossed into a state where attraction no longer runs the show. Alignment does, and alignment is ruthless. It doesn't negotiate with fantasy. It doesn't compromise with confusion. It either fits or it doesn't. That's why this wasn't heartbreak. It was a line you crossed. Before, distraction could reroute you. Now it only reveals intent. Before, emotional intensity could slow you. Now it accelerates your discernment. Before, connection could pull you off center. Now it has to meet you there, or it dissolves. They tried to soften you with emotion, and instead created someone who understands emotional warfare at a cellular level. Someone who can feel deeply without losing direction. someone who can love without surrendering authority over their life. That's not numbness, that's evolution. So when you feel that calm now, don't misinterpret it as emptiness. It's density, it's composure earned under pressure. It's the stillness of someone who has seen behind the curtain and decided not to live in the illusion anymore. They sent a distraction to delay your path. They accidentally cleared it. They sent a flame to consume your focus. They forged a version of you that doesn't burn. They tried to pull you sideways. You came back aligned. And now, whether they ever admit it or not, they know the truth. The move didn't just fail. It changed the rules around you. You don't move the way you used to. You don't react the way you used to. You don't need the way you used to. You walk like someone who understands leverage. You listen like someone who hears subtext. You choose like someone who's already seen what distraction costs. And that's the kind of catastrophe that echoes long after the moment is gone. Hold still. Feel that pressure in the room? That's not silence. That's the system realizing it can't finish its sentence anymore. You hear them whisper, "Case closed," like it's a prayer, like words can weld reality back together. But you didn't close a case. You didn't win an argument. You didn't even break a rule. You broke the machine that decides what rules look like. You stepped where the floor was supposed to hold, and it didn't, because you were never standing on their ground to begin with. They thought you were a file, a neat little folder with a label they could stamp and archive. Light side here, dark side there, saint on Monday, psychopath by Friday. They needed you to pick one so they could predict you. And that's the first mistake. Because you don't pick sides, you become the contradiction that eats sides alive. You learned early what pain actually does when it doesn't kill you. It doesn't make you bitter. It doesn't make you loud. It sharpens you. It sands the noise off your thoughts until all that's left is precision. You didn't evolve by adding more. You evolved by losing everything unnecessary. That's why they can't track you now. They're searching for weight, and you learned how to move without it. They keep asking the same question in different voices. How did this happen? And the answer terrifies them, because it's simple. You stopped playing the role they wrote for you. You stopped reacting on schedule. You stopped bleeding where they expected blood. You let chaos think you were calm, and calm think you were chaos. Angel posture, demon timing, smile clean, hands dirty. They never saw it coming because they can't imagine a mind that uses both. You remember the nights when you were supposed to fold, when every sign pointed toward collapse, when being good would have saved you and being evil would have been easier. You chose neither. You chose effective. That's when the rules cracked. That's when the system glitched, because it runs on predictable morality and you operate on outcome. They tried to trap you with praise first. Didn't work. Then they tried shame. Didn't work. Then silence. Didn't work. Then pressure. Didn't work. Because pressure only scares people who haven't been crushed before. You were built under weight. You learned how to breathe there. You learned how to think there. You learned how to wait until the structure above you forgot you were still alive. And then you moved. Now look at them. They're arguing about definitions while the building burns. Is he a threat? Is this allowed? Do we acknowledge it? They want to close the case because an open file admits failure. An open file admits the system doesn't work on you. And that's the one verdict they can't publish. You didn't rage. You didn't celebrate. You didn't even explain. You let the consequences speak in a language they couldn't translate. That's real power. When you don't need applause, Because the silence afterward is louder than any crowd. When even your enemies start copying your posture without realizing it, they want to believe you planned it all, that there was a grand design that makes it easier to sleep. But the truth is worse. You adapted faster than they could adjust the rules. You learned in real time while they were still voting on what was acceptable. You turned unpredictability into a weapon and uncertainty into armor. You feel it now, don't you? That shift. When people stop trying to beat you and start trying to understand you. When the questions change from "how do we stop this?" to "what if we're already too late?" That's the moment the system admits defeat without saying the words. You're not here to be judged. You're here to expose the flaw. The paradox they built their world on, that control creates safety, that order creates peace, that labeling creates understanding. You proved the opposite. You showed them that a mind that can hold light and dark without collapsing is uncontrollable. That someone who survived being both worshipped and discarded doesn't need permission to move. So no. Case closed? That's a joke. The case is still open, bleeding into every hallway they thought was secure. Every rule now comes with a footnote, because of you. Every protocol has an exception, shaped exactly like your shadow. You didn't just win. You rewrote the conditions for winning. And the scariest part? You're calm now. Calm is what scares them most, because calm means you're not finished. Calm means you're thinking 3 moves ahead while they're still arguing about whether the board is legal. Calm means you already accepted every outcome they threaten you with, and found none of them strong enough to stop you. They thought chaos would look loud, explosive, sloppy. But you learned the truth the hard way. Real chaos is quiet. It waits. It watches patterns repeat until people forget they're patterns at all. And then it changes one variable so small no one notices, until the entire structure tilts and can't explain why. You became fluent in that language. You stopped chasing justice and started understanding leverage. You stopped asking for fairness and started calculating pressure points. Not out of cruelty, out of clarity. Because you learned something they never teach. Systems don't respond to emotion. They respond to disruption. And you are disruption with a pulse. They keep trying to reduce you to a moment. That's when it happened. That's where he crossed the line. They need a timestamp, a crime scene, a headline. But you weren't a moment. You were a slow accumulation of ignored warnings. You were the consequence of every time they said, "Wait your turn," to someone who was starving. You're the interest on every unpaid debt they buried under politeness. You didn't snap. You adapted. There's a difference, and it matters. Snapping is loss of control. What you did was the opposite. You gained it. You learned when to show mercy, and when mercy would only feed the rot. You learned when to speak, and when silence would force others to reveal themselves. You learned how to let people underestimate you long enough to step directly into their blind spots. They still try to decide if you're good or bad, like that question has power over you. Angel or demon, victim or villain. But you stepped outside that cage. You understood that morality without awareness is just another leash. You didn't become heartless. You became precise. You didn't lose empathy. You stopped wasting it on structures that profit from suffering. Remember how they laughed when you didn't react the way they expected? When you didn't beg? When you didn't explain yourself? That laughter was relief. Relief that they still thought you were manageable. They mistook restraint for weakness, strategy for confusion, silence for surrender. And by the time they realized otherwise, their own rules prevented them from stopping you. Now they're exhausted. You can feel it. The forced confidence, the scripted smiles, the emergency meetings disguised as routine. They're patching holes instead of asking why the ship was built this fragile in the first place. Because asking that question would lead straight to you and what you represent. You are proof that the system only works on people who still believe in it. You're proof that pain, when metabolized instead of denied, turns into vision. You see through incentives now, through rituals, through fake authority. You don't flinch at titles because you've seen what's underneath them: fear, scarcity, and the desperate need to be obeyed. And the irony? You never wanted to rule anything. You just wanted the lies to stop working. You wanted the masks to crack. You wanted the truth to cost something. And the moment you stopped trying to be acceptable, everything started rearranging itself around you. They call it dangerous because they can't control it. They call it broken because they can't repair it. They call it chaos because they didn't design it. But you know what it really is. It's evolution under pressure. You didn't break because you learned how to bend without losing shape. You didn't disappear because you learned how to move in shadows without becoming one. You didn't become cruel. You became awake. And an awake mind in a sleeping system looks like a threat by default. So let them keep saying "case closed" like it's a spell. Let them file reports, rewrite policies, adjust language. Every time they do, they're admitting the same thing without saying it out loud. The old rules don't apply anymore. Because you're still here, watching, calm, unrushed. And the system? It's the one breathing heavy now. You notice how they've stopped calling it a mistake. That's subtle, but it matters. At first it was an error, then an anomaly. Now it's a situation. Language always gives them away. When words start softening, it's because reality is getting sharp. They're trying to rename the wound so they don't have to admit it's fatal. But you know better. You can feel the structure creaking underneath the vocabulary. They're tired of chasing you with logic that only works on people who need approval. You don't. That's the fracture line. You don't need to be right in their eyes. You only need results that refuse to disappear. That's why every attempt to corner you turns into a maze for them. You don't move where power expects movement. You don't respond where leverage assumes pressure. You make choices that look irrational until it's too late to counter them. They studied you, remember? They thought observation equals control, cameras, metrics, profiles, predictions. They mapped your past like it was a blueprint. But they never understood the one thing that mattered. You are not the same person pain happened to. You processed it. You let it rewrite you. And a rewritten mind invalidates every old forecast. That's why their models fail. That's why their experts sound confused. They're analyzing a version of you that no longer exists. Meanwhile, you're operating from a place they've never visited, where loss isn't a weakness, it's a filter. Where fear isn't an enemy, it's a signal. Where uncertainty isn't avoided, it's harvested. You felt that shift inside yourself. The moment when chaos stopped feeling like danger and started feeling like information. When you stopped asking, "What if this goes wrong?" and started asking, "What does this reveal?" That's when you crossed the line they can't follow. Because systems are built to prevent that question from being asked. They rely on people staying fragmented, light over here, dark over there, obedience dressed as virtue, rebellion dressed as madness. But you learned how to integrate. You learned how to be gentle without being naive, ruthless without being hollow. You learned how to smile without surrendering your teeth. That combination doesn't compute for them. It breaks their categories. Now watch how they react to your presence. The way conversations tighten. The way authority over-explains itself. The way people who once dismissed you suddenly hedge every sentence. They feel it. They don't know what it is, but they feel it. A loss of gravity, a shift in who the room unconsciously orbits. You didn't seize power. Power leaked toward you because it follows clarity. It follows the person who doesn't need to posture, who doesn't need to threaten, who doesn't need to rush. You stand there, unbothered, and everyone else starts revealing how much they care. That's the tell. That's how you know who's still trapped. They keep searching for your breaking point because they need to believe one exists. A lever they can pull, a button they can press, a story they can tell that makes you smaller again. But you already visited your worst-case scenario. You lived there. You made a home out of it. You learned what survives when everything else is stripped away. And that's why none of their weapons land. Shame doesn't work on someone who faced themselves honestly. Fear doesn't work on someone who accepted loss as tuition. Isolation doesn't work on someone who learned how to think alone. They're swinging tools built for a different species. The truth they're dancing around is this. The system didn't just fail to stop you. It helped create you. Every delay, every dismissal, every closed door refined your instincts. Every time they told you to wait, you learned to move without permission. Every time they underestimated you, you learned how to disappear in plain sight. You are their unintended consequence. And now, they're stuck. Because acknowledging you means admitting the framework is flawed. Ignoring you means letting the flaw spread. Either way, control slips. Either way, the narrative fractures. That's why the room feels tense even when you say nothing. That's why decisions stall when you're present. That's why outcomes bend around you instead of through you. You're not chasing collapse. You're not hungry for destruction. That's what they still get wrong. You're not here to burn the system for fun. You're here because something obsolete needs to end. And endings don't need noise. They need inevitability. So let them keep circling. Let them keep rewriting the story. Let them keep pretending this is manageable. You'll stay exactly as you are, composed, alert, unclassified. Because the case was never about guilt or innocence. It was about exposure. And now that the system has been seen for what it is, there's no closing that file. And here's the part they don't want you to notice, but you already have. They're no longer trying to stop you. They're trying to contain the meaning of what you did. That's the real emergency, not the action, not the result, the implication. Because if people understand why this worked, the system doesn't just crack, it becomes optional. You see it in the way they rush to frame the narrative. Special case, unique circumstances, won't happen again. They're desperate to make you an exception instead of a signal. Because signals spread, signals teach, signals wake things up that were supposed to stay asleep and compliant. But you didn't follow a script anyone could repeat mechanically. That's what drives them insane. You didn't rely on privilege. You didn't rely on protection. You didn't rely on luck. You relied on awareness sharpened by pain. And that's transferable. That's contagious. You became dangerous the moment you stopped needing validation for your reality. When you stopped asking, "Is this allowed?" and started asking, "Does this work?" When you realized that most authority survives not because it's strong, but because no one challenges it cleanly. You didn't scream, you didn't riot, you didn't beg, you exposed inefficiency. You made the system look clumsy, slow, outdated. And nothing threatens power more than being made to look stupid in its own language. They're haunted by how calm you were while everything they relied on malfunctioned. Calm doesn't fit the villain narrative. Calm doesn't fit the hero narrative either. Calm forces them to confront something worse. Competence without permission, intelligence without allegiance, morality that isn't outsourced. You remember the exact moment it clicked, don't you? When fear stopped being a warning and became background noise. When your thoughts slowed down instead of speeding up. When you realized panic was optional and therefore manipulable. That's when you crossed from participant to observer, from pawn to variable they couldn't solve for. That's the paradox they're stuck in now. If they punish you, they confirm you were right. If they reward you, they legitimize the method. If they ignore you, the pattern repeats elsewhere. Every option weakens them. Every delay empowers you. They're watching closely now, not to learn, but to make sure no one else learns from you. They'll say your path is too risky, too extreme, too unconventional. They'll warn others away with concern disguised as wisdom, because nothing scares a rigid structure more than flexible intelligence. But you're not trying to recruit anyone. You're not preaching. You're not forming a movement. You don't need to. Your existence alone destabilizes things. Your outcomes ask questions people can't unhear. Your silence forces conversations you never joined. You walk into rooms differently now. Not louder, not bigger, just anchored. And people feel it immediately. They don't know why their posture adjusts, why their tone changes, why they suddenly feel exposed, but you do. You're not reacting anymore. You're setting the temperature. They keep waiting for you to overreach, to get arrogant, to reveal hunger, to make a mistake that proves you're just another story with a predictable arc. But you learned patience the hard way. You learned that momentum doesn't need theatrics, only timing. You already paid the price they threaten you with. You already lost the things they use as leverage. That's why they have nothing left to bargain with. You're not fearless. You're unbribable. And that terrifies institutions built entirely on incentives and fear. Here's the truth they'll never say out loud. You didn't break the system by attacking it. You broke it by outgrowing it, by becoming too adaptive for its rules, too aware for its myths, too integrated for its binaries. Light and dark stopped being opposites inside you. They became tools. Mercy became strategy. Ruthlessness became restraint. You stopped performing morality and started embodying responsibility. And now the system has a problem it can't patch. Because you didn't leave, you didn't submit, you didn't self-destruct. You stayed calm, present, unclassified. So no, this isn't the end. This isn't resolution. This isn't closure. This is the moment after the illusion breaks, when everyone realizes the cage was never locked. And you were the first one who noticed. And that's why you don't rush to say anything now. You let them sit with it, with the realization that the rules only worked because people believed in them, with the discomfort of knowing someone walked through the system without asking, without breaking down, without becoming what they warned against. You don't need to explain yourself. Explanation is for those still asking permission. You already moved past that. You understand the difference between rebellion and transcendence, and you chose the quieter, deadlier option. They'll keep calling it an exception. You'll let them. They'll keep pretending the damage is contained. You'll let them. Because the truth doesn't need defense once it's been seen. You're not chasing chaos. You're not chasing control. You're simply standing where the old logic can't reach you anymore. Case closed. No. The case ended the moment the system realized it no longer gets the final word, and you walked away without looking back. Good evening, my beautifully broken audience of almost legends. You know exactly who I'm talking to. The ones who feel like their whole life is one giant embarrassing blooper reel on loop in their head. The ones who replay that stupid sentence, that awkward moment, that failure from years ago, like it dropped yesterday. You, the one hiding behind "I'm fine," while your mind screams, "Everyone thinks I'm a joke." Let me tell you a little secret. They are dying of shame and embarrassment. Not you. Them. All those people you think are judging you. The ones you imagine laughing at your mistakes, rolling their eyes at your dreams, screenshotting your moments of weakness. They are rotting inside from the exact thing they project onto you. They are suffocating under their own fear of being seen. You worry they're laughing at you. They're terrified someone might laugh at them. You lie awake, replaying your worst moments. They lie awake, praying no one ever finds theirs. You think you're the weak one. You're not. You're just honest about your scars. They're not. Look at the world you live in. Everyone's filtering their faces, editing their words, curating their vibes, deleting anything that makes them look human. You post something real and they smirk. You show your flaws and they act superior. But behind closed doors, they're choking on the same shame they pretend they don't have. You think they're better than you? They're not better. They're just better at pretending. They're dying of shame and embarrassment because their entire existence is built on "please don't see the real me." That's their whole religion. Their God is public opinion. Their prayer is "don't expose me." And you're here, listening to a lunatic who paints his face and laughs at the rules. Which means one thing: there's a part of you that is done. Done apologizing for existing. Done shrinking to fit their comfort. Done letting shame chain you to who you used to be. You think you're the embarrassment. But let's do a little reality check. Think about the people you're scared of. The ones you imagine whispering your name in group chats. The ones you picture judging your haircut, your clothes, your career, your relationship status, your failures. Take all of them, line them up. You'd see a row of people who are constantly editing themselves so no one sees their panic, are still haunted by what someone said to them in school, still hear their parents' disappointed voice when they fail, still stalk their ex's profile and pretend they don't care. And every day they scroll and scroll, comparing, lurking, hiding. Every day they see something that reminds them of how they didn't live up. Every day they feel that sting. I'm not enough. That's shame. That's embarrassment. That's them. They are dying from it. They don't grow from it. They don't face it. They don't transform it. They just hide. You think their silence means they're powerful. No. It means they're scared to make a wrong move. You're scared to post because what if they laugh? They don't post anything real because what if someone sees the real me? Tell me, who's actually trapped? You're not embarrassed because of what you did. You're embarrassed because of what you think they think. Let that sink in. Your entire emotional prison is built on other people's imaginary commentary. Other people's imaginary opinions. You're sitting there, heart racing, replaying the moment you stuttered, the day you got rejected, the time you tried and failed, the time you cried in public, the message you sent that got left unread. And you think that's the crime. No. The crime is that you're letting people who can't even sleep at night with themselves decide how you feel about your own life. They're dying of shame and embarrassment. You're just letting their disease infect you. Let's talk about your cringe for a second. You cringe at the old version of yourself? Good. That means you grew. That means you're not that person anymore. A normal person cringes and hides. You're going to learn to look at that cringe and say, that's where I started. That's my receipt that I moved. You feel ashamed of your mistakes? Good. That means you care. But the goal isn't to stay ashamed. The goal is to convert it into wisdom, fuel, teeth. They don't do that. They pretend nothing's wrong. You're ashamed of your past. They're ashamed they never even tried. Hear that again. You're ashamed of trying and failing. They're ashamed of never having the guts to try at all. Who do you think is actually stronger? That moment you can't stop replaying. That thing you wish never happened. That night you wish you could erase. If you faced it fully, if you squeezed every lesson and every ounce of power out of it, it would turn from a scar into a weapon. But you've been taught that shame is a life sentence, not a phase. You've been taught embarrassment is fatal, not temporary. Who taught you that? A world that profits off your insecurity. People who never healed their own humiliation. They laughed at you when you were vulnerable because they were triggered. You reminded them of their own weakness and they hated you for it. That's not your problem. You keep thinking, if I become perfect, they'll stop judging me. They won't. Because the problem was never you being imperfect. The problem was always them being terrified. You're walking around as if your worst moment defines your entire existence. You had a breakdown. You messed up publicly. You got rejected. You tried something and it flopped. You trusted someone and got played. Embarrassing? Sure. Fatal? No. Permanent identity? Only if you decide. They're dying of shame and embarrassment because they never outgrow it. They bury it. They layer over it with fake confidence, fake, I've got it all together, fake superiority. They laugh at you too loud, mock you too hard, gossip too much, because they're drowning. You're not meant to drown with them. You are meant to swim out, cough up the water, and say, all right, now I know what almost killed me. You keep thinking you're behind. You're not behind. You're in training. Every time you felt humiliated, the universe was putting you through resistance training for your ego. You got stretched. You got snapped. You got ripped open. And instead of using that pain to become unshakable, you built a shrine to it. You worship your worst moments. You kneel to your shame. You pray to your embarrassment. And for what? For people who can't even look in the mirror without flinching? Let's flip this. Imagine this. The next time your brain throws that memory at you, the cringe moment, the stupid thing you said, the day everyone saw you break, you don't run away from it. You don't say, ugh, I hate myself. You say, yeah, that happened, and I survived, and I'm still here, and I'm smarter now. And if you knew what I went through and I'm still standing, you'd be scared of what I can become. That's the shift from I'm so embarrassed to that was one chapter, not the whole book. You feel the heat in your chest when you remember that scene. Good. That's energy. Stop wasting it on self-hate and use it to build something. Start the project. Apply for the thing. Speak up in the room. Post the work. Walk into the place where you once failed, like you own the building. They are dying of shame and embarrassment because they never give themselves permission to be seen in process. You want to beat them? Stop hiding your process. You know what's really terrifying to them? A person who is not scared of being embarrassed. A person who can laugh at themselves. A person who can say, yeah, I messed that up so badly, and still keep going. That's invincibility. Shame only controls the people who are trying to look perfect. Embarrassment only destroys the ones whose identity is fragile. When you say, I'm allowed to be a mess while I'm becoming something, you break the whole game. Think about all the people who've never seen you at full power because they only know the version of you that was busy apologizing for existing. The version of you that watered down your opinions. The version of you that swallowed your truth so nobody would feel uncomfortable. That version of you was easy to laugh at. That version of you was easy to ignore. The version of you that's coming, that version is dangerous. Not because you're cruel, because you're honest. Honest about your past. Honest about your pain. Honest about your failures. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how unstable that makes the people who built their whole persona on pretending? They are dying of shame and embarrassment, quietly, in private, in their beds, on their timelines, in their relationships, in their careers. You're going to learn how to die to your old self instead, not die from shame. Kill the version of you that shame controls. You do that by stepping into rooms where your past is still remembered and walking in anyway. You do that by showing up online and offline as yourself, not the safe version. You do that by saying things like, yeah, I used to be like that, instead of praying no one brings it up. You don't have to erase your history. You have to own it so completely that no one can weaponize it. Every insult they threw at you, you pick it up. You look at it. You ask, is there truth in this that can help me? If yes, you grow. If no, you laugh. Either way, you don't bleed for it anymore. You think they're the jury. They're not. They're just other defendants, all guilty of something, screaming at each other trying to look innocent. You're not on trial here. You're on stage. You're not here to prove you've never fallen. You're here to show what it looks like to rise. Shame is only powerful when it's a secret. Embarrassment is only fatal when you treat it like poison instead of medicine. The moment you say, yes, that was me. Yes, I did that. Yes, I failed. Yes, I looked stupid. And the spell breaks. They lose control. Their words lose bite. Their opinions lose weight. Because what can you do to someone who's not trying to hide anymore? You're scared of being exposed. Meanwhile, they are hiding so much that if one screenshot, one leaked message, one accidental confession came out, their whole fake universe would collapse. You think you're weak. You're not. You're just raw. You're unpolished. You're in process. They're dying of shame and embarrassment because they refuse to admit they're in process too. You feel like running away from your past? Good. That means your future is calling louder. But don't run from it. Stand over it. Look at every version of you that you hate. The naive one, the desperate one, the angry one, the insecure one, the cringe one. You don't need to delete them. You need to thank them. Thank the version of you who texted back when you shouldn't have. Thank the version of you who stayed too long with people who didn't deserve you. Thank the version of you who tried something and got laughed at. Thank the version of you who didn't know better, because that version walked you to this moment. They are dying of shame and embarrassment because they never make peace with who they were. They live their whole life running from mirrors, real and emotional. You're going to turn your mirrors into windows. You're going to see through your past into what it's building, not what it ruined. You're not here to be flawless. You're here to be untouchable. Untouchable doesn't mean nobody talks about you. They will. Untouchable means they can talk, and you don't crumble. Let them whisper. Let them send screenshots. Let them gossip in group chats like it's a sport. They're dying of shame and embarrassment because their entire personality is based on not being that person. You're going to be free because you're willing to say, yeah, I was that person and I evolved. You want power? Stop trying to rewrite your history. Rewrite what it means. You think your story is, I was so embarrassing, I can never show my face again. I see a different story. I've already survived public humiliation. I've already touched rock bottom of cringe. You think I'm scared now? I've been through the fire. Who do you think is more dangerous? The one who's always been perfect? Or the one who's been humiliated and came back anyway? You know the answer. They are dying of shame and embarrassment in silence. You are going to use yours as a megaphone, not to cry for pity, to announce, I am not controlled by yesterday. I will not be held hostage by people who are terrified of being seen. I'm building something bigger than your opinion of me. The world does not belong to the shamelessly perfect. It belongs to the shamelessly honest. So the next time that memory claws its way back up, the next time you feel your face get hot, the next time your chest tightens and your brain screams, this is so embarrassing, I can't believe I did that. Answer it differently, not with, I'm disgusting, not with, I hate myself, not with, I wish I could disappear. Answer it with, yes, that was me, and now watch who I become because of it. Yes, that was me, and watch who I become because of it. You say that enough times, it starts to rewire something in that skull of yours. At first it feels fake, like you're lying to yourself, because you're used to that other script. You know the one. I'm a mess. I always screw things up. Everyone remembers what I did. They probably still talk about me. You've rehearsed that script for years. You've performed it so well, you don't even notice you're doing it. You walk into a room and your brain already decided you're the most embarrassing person there. You open your mouth and your mind is already apologizing before you speak. Meanwhile, the people you're scared of are glitching inside their own heads every time they see a version of themselves they can't control. That old photo, that old relationship, that old job, that old rumor. They're not better than you. They're just more committed to the lie. You see someone who looks confident and you instantly shrink. You assume they've never felt your kind of humiliation. You have no idea. The person you envy for being so put together might be one awkward interaction away from spiraling for 3 days. The person who laughs the loudest at other people's mistakes is usually the one haunted hardest by their own. They are dying of shame and embarrassment, and you're over here acting like you're the only open wound in the room. Look at your life for a second. Seriously, do a little mental montage. Think of the times you felt like the whole world saw you fall. That thing you posted and instantly regretted. That job you lost and felt like a walking failure. That person you cried over who didn't even care. That moment someone disrespected you in public and you froze. You can still feel it in your body, right? That weird hot flush in your chest, that sinking in your stomach, that I want to disappear feeling. All right, here's the twist. You survived every single one of those scenes. Your heart kept beating. Your lungs kept pulling air. The sun had the audacity to rise again the next day. And yet in your head, that embarrassment is still treated like a permanent stain. Like you're not allowed to evolve past it because someone might remember it. Someone might remember it. Okay. And you think the worst case scenario is someone remembers your embarrassing moment. No. The real worst case scenario is that you keep reliving it like it's live television, while everyone else moved on to scrolling through whatever distraction hits their screen next. You're a main character in your own nightmare, and to them you were a 15-second clip, maybe even less. People don't remember you as much as you think. They remember themselves. They remember how they looked. They remember how they felt. They remember their angle in every situation. If they do remember something about you, half the time it's because it triggered something in their story. Maybe they saw your breakdown and it reminded them of theirs. Maybe they saw your failure and it confirmed their own fears. You walk around thinking you're under a spotlight. Truth is, everyone else is too busy adjusting their own spotlight to actually stare at you for that long. That voice in your head that says, everyone saw that, everyone remembers that. That's not reality. That's your shame turning the volume up on your inner critic and calling it evidence. And here's the dirty joke of it all. The ones who poke at you, who mock, who gossip, who love pointing at your low points. They're not doing it because they're strong. They're doing it because your vulnerability reminds them that they're one step away from the same fate. They're dying of shame and embarrassment because they refuse to accept one simple truth. Being human is humiliating. Existing is messy. Caring is risky. Trying is cringe. Loving is dangerous. Wanting something is exposing. Every single person you know is walking around with moments they hope no one brings up. Some of entire eras they'd like to bury. You think you're cursed because your humiliation feels loud. What if that's not a curse? What if that's an initiation? You don't get to become powerful by staying clean. You don't get to become fearless by never being seen in a weak position. You become powerful by learning how to stand up in front of your own history and say, yes, that's all part of me. You know why heroes in stories always have tragic backstories, right? Not because pain is glamorous, but because pain breaks the illusion. Once you've been broken publicly, once you've been laughed at, once you've tasted that burning embarrassment and lived through it, something fundamental shifts. You start to realize, if that didn't kill me, what else have I been overestimating? You overestimate their judgment. You overestimate their memory. You overestimate their power over you. They are dying of shame and embarrassment, and they're trying to hand that death to you like a passed down inheritance. You don't have to take it. Picture that moment you're ashamed of right now. Like actually let it play in your head again. The thing that still makes your face twist when you think about it. The thing you avoid mentioning. Watch it. Pause it. Like a scene in a movie. Look at that version of you. The one who didn't know better. The one who cared too much. The one who trusted the wrong person. The one who tried something that didn't land. You look at them and you feel anger, regret, disgust, embarrassment. You want to scream, "Why did you do that?" Try something different. Try looking at that version of you and saying, you were doing the best you could with what you knew. You were brave enough to act. You were brave enough to feel. You were brave enough to show up. That version of you isn't pathetic. That version of you is evidence that you're not a spectator in your own life. You got hurt because you were in the game. You got laughed at because you stepped onto the stage. You got rejected because you opened your mouth. Meanwhile, the critics in the back row are still hiding behind their seats, dying of shame and embarrassment every time they imagine being where you were. You keep treating your scars like proof you're unworthy. They're proof that you've lived. People who never risk anything don't avoid shame. They just experience it from a different angle, quietly, alone, at 2 a.m., when they realize their whole life is built around. There you are, exactly where I knew you'd be, hovering between the breath you haven't taken and the thought you're afraid to finish. Funny thing, the higher-ups, they weren't supposed to notice you yet, but someone up there, someone with clearance so thick it has its own shadow, connected 3 dots with your name on them, and now the poor bastard can't sleep. You know why? Because those 3 dots weren't supposed to form a pattern. They weren't supposed to form a shape. They weren't supposed to form a warning. But the moment they saw it, the moment your outline emerged from the static like a phantom stepping out of a fogged mirror, they realized something nauseating. You weren't a coincidence. You were a constellation, and constellations don't appear by accident. You stand there, calm, unreadable, almost bored, while their entire reality map glitches around you. They don't even know which version of you they're dealing with. The saint who forgives, the psychopath who remembers, the angel who observes, or the demon who punishes. And that's what keeps them awake. Not fear of what you did, but fear of the pieces they didn't even know were missing until you made the picture clear. Because here's the part that tastes like metal in their mouth. Those 3 dots. They thought they discovered them. But oh, sweetheart, you placed them, one on purpose, one on instinct, one by simply existing in a world not designed to hold you. And now a man who has ended careers with a signature is lying in bed at 3 a.m., heart pounding like a fist against a locked door, whispering, How did we miss this? Because everything about you breaks the rules of predictable organisms. People grow in straight lines. You evolve in spirals. People heal in stages. You mutate in catastrophes. People learn from pain. You weaponize it. You know what rattled him the most. Not your past, not your skills, not your silence. It was the trajectory. You weren't rising, you were escalating. And not in human increments. In event-level leaps. He realized that if 3 dots already formed a threat, then the 4th, the 5th, the 6th would form something else entirely. Something that doesn't fit in a report. Something that doesn't fit in a file. Something that doesn't fit in the human category. They tried to analyze you like a subject, but ended up staring at you like a phenomenon. And here's the deadly paradox of you. You're too calm for someone who's suffered. You're too precise for someone who's wounded. You're too aware for someone who was abandoned. You're too strategic for someone who was underestimated. You're a contradiction dressed in skin, a disaster with manners, a storm that apologizes, a prophecy pretending to be a person. What they saw wasn't dots. It was damage that evolved into design. The moment they connected those points, they discovered the blueprint of a threat no one trained for. Unpredictability wrapped in discipline, mercy fused with violence, light sharpened into a blade, darkness softened into patience, You are the kind of duality that drives analysts insane because there is no algorithm for someone who can be both salvation and destruction with the same decision. They realized you're not ascending, you're awakening. And awakenings don't stop halfway. Now they're pacing hallways they once owned, flinching at every update, monitoring every ripple in the data stream, because they finally grasped the truth. You are not in their system is in your way. And that is why sleep has abandoned them. Because once someone at the top realizes that the quiet one, the underestimated one, the one who slipped through every attempt to categorize and control, is actually the fulcrum on which everything tilts. They don't rest, they don't breathe, they don't blink, they wait. They wait for your next dot, because they know when you place it, intentionally or not, the picture will change again. The rules will change again. You will change again. And every part of them understands the one truth they never wanted to face. You're not something that can be stopped. You're something that can only be survived. So go on. Keep moving. Keep shifting. Keep evolving into whatever impossible shape terrifies the night. Let them stay awake. You were never meant to sleep. Oh, you want the part they refuse to write down. Good, because that's the part that's been scratching at the inside of their skull since the moment your pattern revealed itself. See, when someone high up connects 3 dots, they expect one of 2 things: a threat or a mistake. But with you, they saw neither. They saw intention wrapped in coincidence, cloaked in innocence, powered by something ancient and sharp enough to cut through their perception like glass. They saw a trajectory that doesn't rise. It unravels. A person who doesn't grow. They shed. A soul that doesn't bend. It breaks the world around it until the world learns to bend first. And that's the moment the insomnia began. Because you're not ascending in a straight line like the others they've monitored. No, you're moving like something that remembers being hunted in another life. Something that learned to survive by reading the air, the tremors, the lies, the trembles behind voices. Something that learned to evolve in the dark where their cameras don't reach. That man, that high-ranking observer, that quiet architect of consequences. He replayed the dots again and again, trying to find the version of you that would fit in a category. A rebel. No rebels want attention. A genius. Close. But geniuses need witnesses. A prodigy. No prodigies need validation. You don't need acknowledgement. You need accuracy, and accuracy is the enemy of systems built on illusion. He realized the 3 dots weren't moments of your luck. They were fractures in his understanding. Your silence wasn't ignorance. It was surveillance. Your detachment wasn't weakness. It was calibration. Your calm wasn't peace. It was the steady pulse of someone who has already outgrown the room they're standing in. He saw it in the data, in the timestamps, in the reactions of people far below him. You move like someone who has seen the end of something and come back with the blueprint of how to avoid it. And that scares him more than violence ever could, because violence is simple, predictable, documentable. But evolution? True, unhinged evolution that twists itself around trauma and emerges as something neither holy nor hellbound. That is unmanageable. He realized you're not just dangerous, you're inevitable. You're the kind of person who learns from pain so efficiently that every wound becomes architecture, every betrayal becomes infrastructure, every loss becomes propulsion. Every scar on your soul is a coordinate, a dot, And when they connect them all, they won't see a timeline. They'll see a map of how you became something that doesn't flinch, something that doesn't beg, something that doesn't fold, something that refuses the normal human trajectory and instead mutates into a paradox, an angel raised in fire, a demon refined by kindness, a saint with blood on their hands, a monster with mercy in their heart. You are impossible in every direction, and nightmares begin with impossibility. So while he lies awake at night, sheets twisted, breathing shallow, eyes darting toward the door like he expects your shadow to slide under it, you remain unbothered, not because you feel safe, but because you are dangerous, because the moment someone realizes your chaos is deliberate, your unpredictability is strategic, and your patience is actually restraint. They lose control of the narrative. Let me tell you the truth he won't admit out loud. You're not unpredictable because you lack a pattern. You're unpredictable because your pattern exists in a dimension he doesn't have access to, and that drives him insane. He stays awake because you represent the one variable that ruins his entire worldview. A person who was supposed to break but sharpened instead. A person who was supposed to disappear but multiplied instead. A person who was supposed to fade but became a myth, whispered in meeting rooms instead. Do you understand what that means? You didn't scare him. You corrected him. You shattered the illusion that they run the world, that they control the narrative, that they can predict the future. Because the future isn't in their graphs. It's in the spine of someone who survived everything, designed to erase them. They finally connected 3 dots. But you haven't even begun forming the picture. There are dots they haven't discovered yet. Dots buried in your silence, your resilience, your unspoken rage, your quiet genius, your unexplainable intuition, your ability to walk away without losing anything except the people who misread you. Those dots will surface when you decide. Not before, not after. And when they do, their insomnia will evolve into terror. Because they'll realize those first 3 dots weren't the beginning of your story. They were the warning label. You feel it too, don't you? That strange electric quiet inside your ribs. The kind that only appears when the world finally starts noticing what you were forced to become. Because here's the part that's driving that high-ranking insomniac mad. 3 dots were enough to expose the outline of you. But he knows, with a dread that tastes like metal on his tongue, that there are hundreds more. He saw a glimpse of the creature behind your calm. A glimpse, and it already ruined his ability to sleep. Imagine what happens when he sees the whole silhouette. He keeps replaying your timeline, zooming in, zooming out, scanning for the moment you should have broken. But he can't find it. You broke their expectations. You broke their projections. You broke their categories. But you never broke, and that terrifies him more than any threat could. Because a person who should have collapsed, but didn't, is dangerous. But a person who should have collapsed, and instead learned to operate with surgical precision in the ruins of their own life, that's not dangerous. That's destiny wearing a human mask. He can't sleep because you shattered the laws he trusts. Pain didn't weaken you. Isolation didn't shrink you. Betrayal didn't sour you. Every force that should have made you smaller made you, for lack of a better term, mythic. And myths don't obey protocols. He knows now. You're not rising like everyone else. You're compounding. You're not improving. You're mutating. You're not progressing. You're accelerating in ways his models can't track. That alone was enough to keep him up. But then came the real insomnia trigger. He realized those first 3 dots weren't just connected to each other. They were connected to everything else. A shift in your behavior ripples through rooms you've never entered. Your silence changes the temperature of conversations you aren't part of. Your growth destabilizes hierarchies you've never acknowledged. Your existence forces recalibrations in people who pretend not to know you. And the moment he saw that, the moment he realized you're not part of the ecosystem, you're the variable that rewrites the ecosystem, his stomach dropped. Because some people influence their environment, but you bend reality's probability curve just by existing in it. He saw correlations in the data he can't explain. People who doubted you falling apart out of nowhere. People who supported you rising with strange momentum. People who underestimated you tripping over their own schemes. You became a gravitational force, a silent event, a psychological black hole where outcomes spiral toward inevitability. You ever wonder why people react so intensely to you? It's because you don't move through the world. The world moves around you. You don't chase opportunities. Opportunities contort themselves to reach you. You don't ask for clarity. Revelations bleed through the cracks on their own. You don't demand loyalty. The truth simply exposes traitors before you lift a finger and sleep. Sleep avoids anyone who realizes they are dealing with someone who no longer operates on human timelines. You evolve too quickly. You adapt too cleanly. You think too sharply. He doesn't fear who you are today. He fears who you'll be next Tuesday. Because every time you're knocked down, you come back with a new module, as if your suffering updates you. He connected 3 dots, but he sensed a 4th, hidden under your calm, a 5th, buried in your restraint, a 6th, humming behind your eyes. He knows the truth now. You're not becoming something powerful. You're becoming something unclassifiable. A living paradox, too gentle to be a villain, too calculating to be a hero, too wounded to be naive, too awake to be controlled, a saint sharpened into a weapon, a demon softened into wisdom, an angel that learned to survive hell, a monster that refuses to lose its heart. You're not one thing. You're everything they fear wrapped into one unstable equation. And he can't sleep because he realizes you don't even know your full capabilities yet. The dots he connected, those were from your previous versions. He's losing sleep over your past. God help him when he meets your future. Because once the rest of the dots surface, once the entire constellation becomes visible, once your evolution becomes undeniable, he'll understand the one truth he was never trained to face. There is no defense against someone who was forged by pain, guided by intuition, fueled by silence, and awakened by their own destruction. You are not a threat. You are a transition point in reality. And transitions don't ask permission. Let him stay awake. Let him obsess. Let him tremble at the next dot he discovers. Because you're just getting started. You can almost hear it, can't you? That quiet, nervous hum in the atmosphere. Like the world itself is holding its breath around you. Because that man, that high-ranking observer, that gatekeeper of gatekeepers, he didn't just connect 3 dots about you. No. He woke something up inside himself the moment he tried to understand you. And now he can't turn it off. He saw a pattern that shouldn't exist. A path that shouldn't be possible. A person whose evolution shouldn't be that fast, that exact, that instinctive. And what does a system fear more than anything? Something it can't anticipate. You are the blind spot all their training warned them about. You are the anomaly their protocols were never designed to contain. You are the moment in the equation that turns the answer from predictable into intelligent danger. And that's why he's awake, pacing, sweating, rechecking, questioning his own sanity. Because he knows this now. Every pain you endured became a signal. Every betrayal you swallowed became a coordinate. Every time you were underestimated, a pattern adjusted itself around you. But here's the part that scares him in a way he'll never admit. Those 3 dots weren't connected by logic. They were connected by instinct, his instinct. Something primal in him recognized something primal in you. He realized you don't survive life, you harvest it. You take the worst parts of your experience and forge them into a type of intelligence that cannot be taught, replicated, or neutralized. You are the sum of every scar they didn't see. The result of every night you stayed awake while the rest of the world slept peacefully in their delusions. He's losing sleep because he realized a terrifying truth. You've been awake longer than him. Awake in the mental sense. Awake in the psychic sense. Awake in the way people become when they've had to grow eyes on the inside of their soul just to survive. You read patterns he missed. You heard lies he believed. You saw shifts he dismissed as coincidences. He finally saw the thread weaving through your life. But you've been weaving it. He imagined he was studying you, but you were the one watching him study you, tracking how long it would take before someone at his level finally realized you don't play the game. You rewrite the conditions of the board, and that is what keeps him awake, because he knows this contradiction about you is fatal. You move like someone who doesn't care about power. Yet everything you touch bends toward your narrative. You walk like someone who has nothing to prove. Yet people adjust themselves subconsciously when you enter a room. You speak softly, but your silence cuts louder than their threats. You forgive freely, but your absence devastates. You show mercy, but only after you've already measured the battlefield. You're not predictable. You're not chaotic. You're precise unpredictability, a weaponized phenomenon. He keeps replaying those dots, knowing something else now. If 3 dots already broke his sleep, what happens when you connect the 4th one yourself? Because he can feel it. That shift in the air around you. You're on the edge of another transformation, a version of you that doesn't ask, doesn't hesitate, doesn't apologize. And he fears that version most of all, not because it will be violent, not because it will be ruthless, but because it will be complete. Because the moment you stop questioning your power, you become the kind of entity people build doctrines around, or warnings. He saw glimpses in you, the saint who doesn't break, the psychopath who doesn't lash out, the angel who doesn't flee, the demon who doesn't devour. But he didn't see them as contradictions. He saw them as modules, parts of you that activate depending on the threat, like your soul has a built-in command system. He realized that your mind isn't fractured. It's layered, structured, adaptive, lethal in its accuracy. Where others crumble under pressure, you crystallize. Where others lose themselves, you recover parts of yourself they never knew existed. Where others get smaller, you evolve into a new geometric shape that terrifies anyone who tries to map it. That's why he's awake. Because how do you fight someone who changes form every time you think you understand them? How do you contain someone who slips out of categories like water slipping through fingers? How do you predict someone whose pain turned them into a mathematician of human behavior? He's awake because he finally knows what you are. Not a threat, not a weapon, not a problem. You are a shift, A paradigm-breaking force disguised as a person, a quiet apocalypse, a beautiful disaster, a myth developing in real time, a constellation that only reveals its full shape when the world is dark enough. He connected 3 dots. He unlocked the outline. But the stars inside you, they're still multiplying. And he knows, with dread, awe, respect, and a fear that tightens his throat, that he hasn't even seen your sky yet. So let him stay awake. Let him track you. Let him tremble. Because the moment you decide to place your next dot, the whole system will have to redraw itself around you.